about that time in the season where I'm roughly halfway through, and I've taken a little break and some time to think back and reflect over the races that I've had so far. And I thought I'd just share a little bit with you guys about what's happened so far, what I've learned, the kind of progress or not progress, and where I can improve on for the rest of the season and going into the following years. So everything so far has been pretty solid, I'd say. I've been pretty consistent throughout my racing. I've delivered, I think, what I'm capable of doing within those races. Yes, tactically, there's some things I could change in order to get more out of myself in terms of race results, potentially in some races, not all of them. But overall, that general level is higher than last year, and I can't really ask for much more than that. It's going in the right direction, and I hopefully can just continue to improve on that going forward. The season started out in Valencia, where I came 7th. So that was a good first outing, similar to last season with Lanzarote, where I came 7th, but this was a far more competitive field. The people in it didn't really kind of suit my sort of athlete profile. There was a lot of runners, and it was quite easy to stick in the 12-meter draft zone. So overall, I think I had my work cut out for me, but I was really, really pleased with how I raced. I felt pretty strong on the swim and the bike, and actually had a really good run for myself, like my fastest ever 70.3 run in a 73. So yeah, started out really well. Then I went to Chamorin, which was the Challenge Championships. Obviously a massive field, like really, really strong, and I came 10th. So top 10, an enormous improvement from last season, which was about 21st, 22nd or something like that. And just out the back of the race, I got cramp and could barely finish. So I was really pleased to kind of stitch that together this season and be up amongst it at the front of the race for a fair bit of time and waddle around the run. It's like still something that I want to improve, but again, a much better performance than last time and some decent scores on the board for PTO points. Ironman 70.3 Kaigao went well. I think I could have done better. I came 6th. I think tactically that was where I could have done a little bit better, but at the same time, was really pleased with how I rode. I actually managed to break up the bike pack that I was in and got a little gap on them, so that was a first for me, really exciting. But again, the run didn't really suit me. It was quite rolling hills, and I just really struggled there. It still ran to my potential, I think, and ran well. It was a bit of a long course, so the time wasn't really relevant. I think it was a bit slower than a 76, 77 or something like that. Not great, but again, if you change it into kind of the actual race distance, it was closer to a 75, which is within the remit of what I think I'm capable of. Moved on to Challenge Wales next after deciding to have a decent block into Roth. Challenge Wales was one of those ones where I came in pretty training heavy and didn't really taper down too much for it, so I wasn't over expecting in this race, but still gave it my best and used everything that I had on the day to come 3rd, which I mean, like I said in the Challenge Wales video, it's very rare that you get a podium, or for me, you don't know when your next podium is going to come. So I was very, very grateful to be able to get onto that podium and obviously celebrate with the rest of the podium and the other athletes as well. So yeah, really relish that. A couple of weeks later, went to long course weekend and did the whole thing. So long course weekend is a full distance triathlon spread over 3 days. So swim on the Friday, bike on the Saturday, run on the Sunday. And the whole premise of this was to go in and just do it, use it as a training weekend, use it as like Ironman pacing efforts, so that when I went to Roth, I knew roughly what I was getting myself into. However, I got lured into a race with Liam Lloyd and I ended up giving it my all and cramping severely on the marathon, completely overrunning and damaging myself quite severely for the next week or so. So I really struggled to recover. So that's a massive learning. I probably won't do that in the future going into a full distance event, and probably just be far more sensible. But it was still a lot of fun, literally an amazing weekend, and I got so much from it. And finally, Challenge Roth. It was probably one of my main races for this first half of the season and one of the big targets. And I wasn't really sure how I was going to cope because of Qashqai's last year, where I ended up cramping on the run, and I've got a history of cramping. So going in, like after long course weekend as well, I was like, wow, I really need to be on it in terms of this hydration and kind of sodium intake and carbohydrate intake, obviously, and really focused on that throughout. And again, I was really pleased with how everything panned out. I do think I could have done things a lot better, and I learned a lot from that race and the different disciplines and how to kind of execute that. So hopefully again I can make inroads next time to be a bit further up the field come the end of the race. But it was an amazing event, literally unbelievable. And not only that, I was near the front for a lot of it, so I kind of got a lot of data gathering from that, which I'll take away and be able to use for next time, just to make sure that I'm there towards the end, not just on the swim or the bike. So yeah, I think all in all, a really good first half of the season. Really, really pleased, really proud of my efforts. Like, I ran the whole marathon in Roth, didn't quite cramp. I started to cramp, but didn't quite cramp. Pissed myself a lot because I was overhydrating, because I was very worried about how it was going to go and whether or not I was going to cramp. But yeah, a lot of takeaways. Okay, so in summary of kind of that season, I've proved that I can be quite consistent with top 10s, decent results for me. Really pleased with how that's going. And in terms of like that consistency, again, you can look at it in terms of PTO points, because that's a relatively good way of measuring how you've done from how you've done in the past. And in the past, I had maybe 1 or 2 events where I got 70 or more points, one of them being World Championships last year, where I got a lot more than that. But I think it was London last year was the only other race that I got more than 70 points, whereas this year I've got maybe 4 or 5, I think it was 4 events actually already that I've already got 70 or more points in. So that's a massive bonus, and that's kind of like a way of comparing year in, year out. So that takes into account the strength of field, the prize money, and what the draw of the competition is. So I think it's quite good, because I could just go to some low-level competitions and do a bit better. Like Challenge Wales was a lower strength of field score than the other ones, and I got 3rd. So that did also give me some points because it was a decent result, but it wasn't. I came 6th or 7th in some of my other Ironman events, and they were very close in points as well. So 8th in Roth, and that was some of my most points. So yeah, it's kind of a good comparison from year in, year out as to how I'm doing in comparison to other people. And then, yeah, I think that a lot of these results have been on different courses at different distances. So it's showing that I'm a little bit more adaptable than I was in the past. And yes, there's still going to be courses that I'm better at and that suit me and my profile better. And maybe I need to choose them a little bit more carefully in the future. But at the moment, I'm showing that I'm relatively versatile, but maybe I need to be less versatile and just be a little bit more specific. Some things that I need to improve on and overcome, obviously my run speed, it's a bit lacking in comparison to my other 2 disciplines. I just need to get better, and that's patience. I just need to be patient, and that's the same for a lot of the people that I work with athletes. Like, as athletes, we are impatient, we always want to do better, but it's just a case of taking your time with running, especially because you can get injured. And it's frustrating, obviously. I'm doing what I can to improve my run, but it's just a year in, year out process. It's not going to change overnight, and I'm grafting quite hard to improve it. But maybe I need to look elsewhere. So if you have any ideas, comment below, and I'm all ears over here because I need to improve it. And yes, you could say, swim easier, bike easier, and run faster. Yes, but I still need to be towards the front of the race eventually, because otherwise I'll never be there. And then you've got to consider sponsors and like what they want to see as well. Like, there's no point me being out the back for the whole race, not touching the front once, and then not like just being average, getting the same result, but not being towards the front and showing my face essentially. So there's lots of things at play, but I obviously just want to improve my running in general. Hydration and fueling, I definitely need to carry on working on that hydration strategy, because it might just be a case of drinking as much as I can and pissing as much as I want, because at the end of the day, I can't afford to get cramp in these races because it just sets you back so much. Aerodynamics is something that I definitely need to work on now. I think that I'm being left a little bit behind. There's people spending tens of thousands of pounds on aerodynamics, and I've not even been in a wind tunnel, or velodrome or anything like that. I've just kind of like guessed with what's going to be working for me. I've been to Velo Clinic, which was great with Callum, but it's one of those things where it's your best guess, right? You don't know what exactly is working for who. So I think that's something that I'm going to have to invest in going forward, because otherwise I'm putting out a lot of power for not enough speed, and that's not the aim of the game. The aim of the game is to put out more speed for less power. So yeah, I think that's definitely something I'm going to have to invest in going forward. And finally, heat acclimatization. I'm not 100% sure on where I stand with that, but there's definitely a place for it in terms of hotter places. I've been very fortunate thus far with the racing. It's not been scorching hot with anything, but I don't want to be caught out and be like, turn up to a race, it be a heat wave, and me be like, well, I'm just going to be useless today. Like, that's not an option. You need to be turning up to any of these races and be able to deliver your best. So I just need to consider that going forward in some of the potentially hotter races that I may or may not be doing. So yeah, I think those are the main kind of things that I'm going to be looking at going forward. And finally, what am I going to be doing for the rest of the season? I originally wanted to do another 4 races, 2 70.3s and 2 Ironman distances or full distance triathlons, but I decided against it. So I'm going to knock off one of those 70.3s, and I'm going to focus on one in the Czech Republic, middle of August, I think it is. And then I'm going to do Challenge Almere and potentially Ironman Barcelona. So those are my last 3 races of the season, full focus for that. Had my season break, been mucking through the last week terribly. It's been tough, just getting back into it. Don't know whether that's because of Roth and just struggling to recover off the back of that, or whether it's I've taken a week or 2 weeks pretty easy and the body's just getting used to it now. So yeah, hopefully I can bring you a lot of content going into Almere especially. And yeah, like if you want to see anything in particular, comment below. All ears. Want to provide you guys with insights as and where I can. And I'll see you next time.